Where was I? Right. So, what is solidarity? Who gets it? The thing about me, or like as somebody who is of color, who is black, who is also Muslim, who's also has had to navigate spaces that are occupied by people who are Muslim but are not black, and Arab specifically, is like, you know what? Not everybody's gonna drive with you. Okay, there are people who will look at you and see you as less than, and that is just kind of the spaces that I've occupied since forever. Okay, if I had to determine my ability, or like what is like who I'm in solidarity with based off of whether or not people messed with my identity as a Somali person, I would not be in solidarity with a single one of you, regardless of whether you are black or not. The amount of people who know Somali history or what Somali people have been through is borderline not like literally zero. And people who are like actually in tune with Somali politics is other Somali people, right? And so if I had to determine my like solidarity based off of whether people understood the oppression and the slaughter and the, you know, whatever, just like the intense the intense oppression that Somali people face as like one of the most poorest countries in the world, one of the most like airstriked places in the world, I would not be in solidarity with the majority of you. I would detest the majority of you. I'd literally look at, like, I would not spit in the direction in the majority of you. And the fact that like I hear other people being like, well, you know, I'm not going to be in solidarity with Palestinian people because they haven't done anything for me as a black person, me as like yappa yappa yappa. And it's just like, that's not how solidarity works. That's not like what solidarity isn't based off of whether those people do anything for you. It's based off of your own framework, right? So for example, let's think about something like housing. If you say that everybody deserves to have a roof over their head, everybody deserves to have like a warm bed, and people don't deserve to be put out on the street like animals, right? Then that is dependent on your politics. Then you go out and make sure or fight for or advocate that those people get a home, regardless of whether or not they would be nice to you, whether they like that's just not what, like, that's not what care is, right? And it's the same thing with like food. If you believe that everybody deserves to be fed, if everybody deserves water, if everybody deserves medical care if they're sick or whatever, like imagine if doctors like based their care off of whether or not the person they're caring for would care for them. A lot of y'all would not get care. A lot of y'all would not be receiving medical care. That's not what care is like, right? And so to associate solidarity as like a transactional thing and basing it off of whether this group would help me, like I'm seeing this as somebody who's Somali, like I would not help anyone. Like Somalia is one of those countries that is genuinely ignored by mass, like mass. But that's not what that's not what like what moves me to advocate for the things that I advocate for. And so it's incredibly jarring and disheartening when like I see, like, tweets aside, right? Tweets you can just cook up are fake. But when I see TikTok videos of people that are like, well, this is what Arab people have done, this is what Palestinians have done, this is what, you know, it's like, then you don't understand what solidarity is. Solidarity for you is a transactional thing. And unfortunately, you're going to be sitting in the corner with a lot of people who just will see your level of solidarity as not as a transactional, like your solidarity is not hitting the marker of what they think is like. Anyways, I'm rambling here. I'm not making a whole lot of sense. It's very late. But I hope that, like, yeah, I don't know. I've just been, there's just like this one TikTok video of this person that was like a crisis worker that was talking about like they actively work with like the unhoused community on a daily, like that is their job. And they are constantly talk about like the absolute shit that they get from a community, like the unhoused and people who are homeless, and like what kind of shit that they experience, to a point where like they will come home and they'll be like, is this job worth it? I fucking hate my job. These people that I work with like are completely ungrateful. But it isn't about those people that they're serving. It's about their framework of what it means to be a crisis worker. That like when you're walking down the street and you're saving somebody from like overdosing, and you know they make it and they don't pass away and they are able to like go home and like live another day, like that's why you do the work that you do. And that's what advocating against genocide is supposed to be. You advocate against genocide because that is what your politic advocates for. Not because, like, if I advocated against genocide, the people who are being genocided are one day going to advocate for me. Why would they? Like, why would they? These people that I'm fighting for, whether it be, like, indigenous, whether it be black, whether it be whatever, especially in the context of Palestine, you'll never meet them. You're never going to meet somebody from Gaza. You're never going to meet somebody who has actually, like, lived through. You're literally advocating for people who've passed away. If you're really thinking about it, if you really deep it on like a mental level, if we're talking about the 50, 60, 70,000 people that are dead, you're literally fighting for people that you will never meet because they're literally not among us anymore. That's what you're fighting for. So, I don't know. I hope that makes like sense, but anyways. That's all I gotta say.